What's up, guys? Today we'll look back at the two most iconic Team USA basketball teams of all time, Dream Team versus the Redeem Team. Who would win in this legendary matchup? So subscribe to the channel, like the video, and let's jump right into it. I wasn't sure how to exactly do this. Should I evaluate the entire roster, or should I directly go to the starting 5? And even if I go directly to the starting 5, should I go by the starting 5 used in the gold medal game, the starting 5 that was the most often used, or just the best way to play this exact matchup? And I decided to do exactly like that. Just go by the best starting lineup available for both teams in this specific matchup, and give a small look at the bench. So starting at the point guard would be Magic Johnson versus Dwyane Wade. We know what Magic Johnson brings to the table, as he is the greatest point guard of all time, incredible basketball IQ with unforgettable ball handling skills. However, Magic in 1992 was already past his prime, so we are not talking about prime Magic Johnson, even though he was still incredible. Dwyane Wade is one of the best slashers and attackers of the basket of all time, and we can't forget how good Dwyane Wade used to be defensively. 2008 Dwyane Wade was prime flash, and at this point, he already brought Miami Heat a championship in 2006 and averaged close to 35 points in finals. People might dislike me for this opinion, but Dwyane Wade in 2008 was much better than Magic Johnson in 1992, as he was well over his prime. So in this matchup, I picked Dwyane Wade. The next matchup we got is in the shooting guard position. Michael Jordan versus Kobe Bryant. Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time. When we talk about Michael, we usually talk about his clutch gene as well as his scoring, but we forget how good Michael used to be defensively. 9 All-NBA defensive first teams, as well as the Defensive Player of the Year in 1988. Arguably, 1992 Michael Jordan was the best he ever was. His drive was obsessive, and the perfect person to match him on that is Kobe Bryant. 2008 Kobe Bryant was also arguably peak Kobe Bryant. From all the interviews from former players, we know that he was the leader of his team. And let's not forget that Kobe was also a fantastic defensive player, as he was also 9 times on NBA All-Defensive First Team. This matchup would be extremely exciting. However, Michael Jordan takes the edge on this one, as at this point of his career, he was at the peak of his power and no one was touching his throne. But what we would probably get is a fistfight in the middle of the game between Michael and Kobe, knowing that neither of them would back down. In the small forward position, we would have a battle between Scottie Pippen and LeBron James. Yes, I picked Scottie Pippen over Larry Bird, because Larry at this point of his career was barely walking with all of the back issues he had, so Scottie seemed like a much better choice. I know that the media has been disrespecting Scottie Pippen for years now, but we can't forget who this guy was as a player. Not only was he one of the greatest defensive players of his generation, as he was able to defend 1 through 4 positions on the court, but he was also a fantastic ball handler and passer. In other words, he was LeBron James before LeBron James. And in 1992, Scottie Pippen was in his prime, so he's definitely a dangerous weapon for the Dream Team. Now we know who LeBron James is in 2022, but in 2008, LeBron was still away from his prime and was more of a baby LeBron. Yes, he led the league in scoring back in 2008, but he was number 4 in the MVP race behind Kobe Bryant, Chris Paul, and Kevin Garnett. However, baby LeBron is still better than most players in their prime, as back in 2007, he dragged the Bad Cavs team to the NBA Finals and had one of the most legendary games of his career against Pistons in Game 5 of the series. This was a harder pick than it seems, but I will go with LeBron James in this specific matchup. In our power forward matchup, we have Charles Barkley versus Chris Bosh. Again, I picked Chris Bosh instead of Carmelo Anthony because he fits against Barkley much better than Anthony would. Now people forget who Chuck in his prime used to be. I think the younger generation look at Charles now and see a funny uncle on TV, but Chuck is one of the greatest power forwards of all time, and he was able to guard any position he wanted and was a menace on offense. Granted, sometimes he used to sleep on defense during the regular season, but during the playoffs, he was one bad man. Chris Bosh in 2008 had one of the greatest seasons of his career, but he wasn't a shooter. He was later in his career, and even though he shot from the 3-point line at a 40% back in 2008, the statistic means nothing when you notice that he made only 10 threes in the entire season. In this matchup, I have Charles Barkley, as he dealt with more skillful and stronger forwards throughout his career, and back in 1992, Chuck was very much in his prime. For the center position, we got Patrick Ewing versus Dwight Howard. Patrick Ewing was an incredibly strong physical center, and offensively, he was a consistent post scorer with a high release angle on his turnaround shot that made it impossible to block. Ewing also possessed a touch that you might not have expected from a man of his height. He was a fantastic shooter and could consistently make jumpers from 18 to 20 feet away. Dwight Howard in 2008 was an animal offensively and defensively, and even though he didn't have good post moves, nor did he shoot well from distance, he was freakishly athletic, which made him not care about the other stuff, as his insane athleticism was enough. Even though I love Orlando Dwight, as he was one of my favorite players back then, Patrick Ewing takes this matchup easily in my opinion, as the only thing Dwight has on Patrick is athleticism, but that wouldn't be enough against Big Pat. Now let's look at the benches both teams would have. Dream Team would have John Stockton, Clyde Drexler, Chris Mullin, Larry Bird, Karl Malone, Christian Laettner, and David Robinson. Redeem Team would have Jason Kidd, Chris Paul, De'Aaron Williams, Michael Redd, Tyshawn Prince, Carlos Boozer, and Carmelo Anthony. Again, the whole 1992 Dream Team was comprised of Hall of Famers and elite athletes. Only Christian Laettner, despite being a gifted offensive player, was not inducted into the NBA Hall of Fame. Jason Kidd, Chris Paul, and De'Aaron Williams make up the outstanding trio of top ball handlers, playmakers, and leaders for the 2008 Redeem Team. All three players are capable of starting for the Redeem Team, but they will split time on the bench. Kidd is not just the most physically dominant member of the group, but also his best defender. Williams has an inherent talent to attack the rim with explosiveness, while Paul is the team's greatest shooter. Undoubtedly, having three elite point guards at their best for Team USA in 2008 was a huge advantage, and would be a huge advantage in this matchup. So who wins at the end? Well, even though basketball in 1992 and 2008 was completely different, we have to understand that the Redeem Team struggled against a good Spanish team in the finals and won by only 11 points and grabbed their distance by the end of the game, while the Dream Team blew everybody out by over 30 points, and having the best player of all time in his prime on their side gives them the edge, as I think the Dream Team would win the game by 8 points. Thank you for watching the video, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and see you in the future content.